US-China trade war, not about money, but political red lines. Today's topic centers on a widely overlooked perspective presented by a Chinese independent media commentator. Trump's trade war with China wasn't merely a matter of trade, it crossed a significant political red line. According to the commentator, China's retaliation this time was swift and firm. While many outside observers viewed it as a reactionary move against Trump's containment strategy, the analyst believes it reflected a deeper strategic logic. In the eyes of China's decision-makers, politics always comes before economics. There's an old Chinese saying, starvation is minor, losing dignity is major. This principle, prioritizing political and regime security, still governs China's policy framework today. The key driver behind China's hardline response, the analyst argues, is the Taiwan issue, not trade or tariffs. Had this been a purely economic matter, China might have responded differently, perhaps opting to negotiate first. As it did during Trump's previous term when Vice Premier Liu visited the US multiple times with measurable outcomes. Trump's tactic of asking sky high, settling low was no secret to Beijing. But this time, the line was drawn. On December 4, 2024, Yi Gang, former governor of China's central bank, current CPPCC member, and chair of the China Finance Association, who also holds tenure at Indiana University, remarked in a speech that equivalent retaliation was not economically optimal. Given China's smaller economic scale and substantial surplus, the US has many more tools for leverage. Yet, due to domestic public opinion, Chinese policymakers had no choice but to respond. The analyst views this as political necessity overriding economic calculation. Meanwhile, the commentator notes, Trump misjudged the situation entirely. He continued tweeting about cutting a deal involving TikTok to ease tariffs, completely missing the real issue, which was Taiwan. To illustrate, the analyst lays out the timeline. March 13, Taiwan's Vice President Lai Ching-te labeled China a foreign force. March 20, Taiwan appointed Japan's former military chief Yang Qimao as a senior national policy advisor. End of March, the U.S. Secretary of Defense visited the Philippines and Japan, signed a $5.58 billion arms deal, and initiated a joint U.S.-Japan combat command. Around the same time, the Pentagon issued a classified document, the Interim Defense Strategic Guidance, leaked by the Washington Post, which explicitly listed defending Taiwan as a top strategic priority. The analyst reviewed the document's 9 pages and summarized its core points. China is the top threat to the U.S. U.S. military must be reorganized to prioritize defending Taiwan. Taiwan and the U.S. homeland are the only strategic focuses. Defense resources should be shifted to the Indo-Pacific region. Allies like NATO, Japan, and Israel must boost their military budgets to handle Russia, North Korea, and Iran. The U.S. should intensify efforts to combat illegal immigration and drug trafficking near the Panama Canal. Only terrorist threats directly targeting the U.S. will be prioritized. Preventing a surprise takeover of Taiwan by China is the only actionable scenario. The Trump administration aims to reduce the U.S. role in Europe, transferring more responsibility to NATO. According to the commentator, this is the most aggressive U.S. policy document ever directed at China, with Taiwan at the center. Its release energized Taiwan's ruling party and weakened opposition narratives that doubted American commitment. The analyst emphasizes that Taiwan's reunification remains a national goal, a leadership KPI. Failure is not an option. Unlike Biden's vague 4 yeses, Trump's detailed and public actions crossed China's political red line. China had to act. The ongoing tariff conflict thus became a convenient point of leverage. China's retaliation, the commentator continues, extended beyond tariffs. Restrictions on rare earth exports. Investigations into U.S. companies like DuPont. Tying together trade and Taiwan in negotiations. This was not economic tit-for-tat, it was a strategic message. Notably, China did not publish an exemption list, signaling no intent to expose economic vulnerabilities and showing readiness for full decoupling. Even when the US hinted at easing tariffs on pharmaceuticals and semiconductors, China remained silent. The analyst also highlights how China's bold stance indirectly benefited other nations. After Beijing's actions, countries like Canada, the EU, and Israel found themselves negotiating from stronger positions. Still, the commentator acknowledges, China may be fighting this alone. Due to the centrality of Taiwan, Beijing cannot afford to retreat. As for Trump, his administration's latest tariffs, totaling 104%, have just taken effect. He threatened that if China didn't withdraw its 34% retaliatory tariffs by April 8 at midnight, he would add another 50% and refuse any further talks. China's reply: silence. No comment, no tweet, not even a gesture. After 3 hours without response, Vice President Vance tweeted again, indicating they were waiting. But China deliberately ignored it. The analyst argues this silence was deliberate, a show of systemic confidence. Trump's team, they claim, gravely miscalculated China's resolve. At the same time, the Chinese government took steps to stabilize its stock market, quietly injecting capital to maintain surface stability and avoid showing weakness. The new tariffs from the US targeted China's low-cost exports: furniture, toys, apparel, kitchenware, electronics, plastics, and other daily goods. Simultaneously, Washington published its own exemption list, including rare earth elements, antibiotics and pharmaceutical ingredients 90% sourced from China. Some NVIDIA semiconductors made in China taxed at only 20%. This, the commentator notes, demonstrates US dependence in certain sectors. China's imports from the US mainly include chips and electronics, soybeans, oil, natural gas, Airbus aircraft, finished pharmaceuticals, automobiles. So far, China has levied 34% retaliatory tariffs. If the US increases to 50%, China will match. The analyst doesn't expect China to release an exemption list, to avoid exposing its strategic vulnerabilities. This is no longer about fairness, it's about whether one yields or not. Even if both sides suffer, China appears determined to hold the line. Trump may aim to fix trade imbalances through pressure, but the commentator is skeptical. The US strategy now, as interpreted by the analyst, is straightforward. Focus solely on the trade deficit. Push for massive purchases of American goods. Maintain a fixed base tariff, only negotiate the additional portion. It's all about money, not loyalty or alliances. Sweet talk won't help. Only price matters. While Europe hopes for stronger economic ties, unresolved issues persist. For instance, Ukraine's President Zelensky recently claimed to have captured 2 Chinese nationals in eastern Ukraine, possibly regular soldiers. This complicates joint action. In conclusion, the commentator believes Trump underestimated both the will of the Chinese government and the resilience of the Chinese people. The only things that can truly hurt Trump now, the analyst says, are a Wall Street crash or domestic inflation spiral. Some American companies are already under pressure. Tesla's Shanghai operations face rising export costs due to tariffs. Inventory is dwindling. If the supply chain stalls, production halts are imminent. From April 1 to 9, Tesla's stock fell 17.24%, wiping out $164.7 billion in market value. Apple isn't doing well either. Americans are panic buying iPhones, anticipating price hikes. The company chartered 5 planes from China and India to meet demand. In just 9 days, Apple lost 22.58% in stock value, around $767.5 billion. Even Nvidia, though partially shielded by exemptions, remains at risk. If China limits exports, they'll feel it too. As of now, the 104% tariffs are only beginning to bite. The real showdown is still to come. Whether this escalates further or finds resolution, only time will tell.